It's like, Corey doesn't know how to drive.
Where's she going?
She just put a brick on somebody's car and just drive away. Maybe Corey does know how to drive. I don't know if she has a license, but maybe she does know how to drive. I've never asked. Do you ever take your driver's test, Paul?
I have not.
Oh, okay. Did you ever study for a learner's permit or anything like that?
Nope.
I got lucky in that when I turned 14, like less than a week after I turned 14, in Alberta, you can take your learner's permit test immediately. Like, just go ahead, right? So I'd studied and studied and studied. It's like, what do you want for your 14th birthday? I'm like, I want you to agree to take me down to the place where I can get my learner's permit. And so I took the test, passed it, got my learner's permit, and like, yes, let's do it. And Dad's like, okay, hang on. And, you know, I went to a driver's school and everything else too. And then on like 3 days after my 16th birthday, I think, something like that, within the week of my 16th birthday, I was like, let's go. And so my driving instructor took me on one last, because we had it all worked out. And it's like, my driving instructor took me on one last tour. We drove to the license center. He got out. The proctor, I guess you would call her, she got in. We did the thing. I come back, it's like, well, you got 40 out of 50 demerits, so you passed. And you know,
what do you call the guy who's the bottom of his class?
Yep.
Still got the license.
Yeah, sir. You call him sir. Still passed. And it's like, great. So you and then I got my license like immediately, or rather got my like temporary. They had to take pictures and whatever, and then it came in the mail like 2 weeks later, kind of idea. I think, yeah, because I think they were doing plastic licenses then. Anyway, but yeah, did it right away. It's like, I'm driving now. And then within like 2 weeks of that, I accidentally rubbed my parents' truck up against the side of my friend's parents' car and tore off a big like rubber bumper on the side of their vehicle back when they used to put like rubber bumpers all the way around the edges of old vehicles. And I panicked. I apologized. And my friend's parents, the dad, he was also my scout leader back when I was in scouts. And he was like, oh, I thought you did something like serious. No, I can just glue that back on with some like goop or whatever. Don't freak out. And I'm like, I've already freaked out. And I just basically drove home and I gave my dad the keys. And like, I will never drive again. And then like a few days later, he's like, here's the keys back. You probably feel better now. You can go driving again. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I do. I do feel better.
Turns out my convictions weren't that strong.
Exactly. Like I was like, yeah, but I felt awful at the time. And like, I don't want to do it. I need more supervision, clearly. But part of that problem was like, I'm driving a Suburban and I don't have any depth perception. And while I trained on that vehicle, I didn't train a lot on that vehicle. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway.
It's, I never, like when I was a kid, you know, it didn't seem like that high a priority. And like I didn't have any money for like gas or anything. So
that's fair.
And then when I went to university, I was first living in dorms and then living with some roommates, and you know, none of us had cars and we were all very poor.
And that's up in Nanaimo, right?
Up in Nanaimo. And so, you know, we all just walked everywhere or took the bus or whatever. And it's just it was never, I mean, luckily Victoria is, you know, a fairly compact city, and I live kind of in the downtown area, so
yeah.
And so, you know, I can walk most places or take the bus. People in the chat were like, wow, is Victoria's transit system that good?
No.
It is not that good, but it's not that big a city, so even if it's not that bad, even if it's bad, most of the, you know, you can walk most places. So.
Probably the most like active places you would ever need to get to, I think, is maybe to the ferry terminal. And if you're doing that, then, you know, there are buses that go back and forth there and on a regular basis pretty often. And that's not so bad.
I mean, you have to if you're not driving over, you have to leave your car somewhere then anyway. But
yeah. And I'm kind of like, if you're just going to, there's no reason why you're going to go to Langford. So what do you care, right?
I mean, it does affect things, you know, you have to, it's just something you have to sort of take into account, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think having a car would be super useful, but it's a big expense, and I'd have to. I don't even have a parking space in my current apartment because
Okay.
it was cheaper if I was like, I don't need a parking space.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Get yourself an e-bike.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I could get a bike or something if I wanted to, if I needed to do that.
I mean, these days, so when I moved out here, I was definitely like, well, we're gonna need a car still, obviously. I had 2 cars at the time when I was living in Olds. And it's like we got rid of the one because I'm like, Heather can have the old Benz, I'll keep the new Benz. And then when we were moving, I was like, I should probably because she drove it the one time. She went up to Grand Prairie to visit her parents, and she took the red Benz up with her, and then she came back and we parked it, and I kept insuring it because like I guess we'll keep doing that, but I don't know what we're gonna do with this. And when we were leaving, like about 2 weeks before we were leaving Olds, I realized I'm like, I actually haven't come up with a solution for what to do with this car because she doesn't want it. I don't want it. I don't know what to do with it. And I talked to my mechanic friend, and he was like, I'll sell it for you. Don't worry. Just give it to me. I'll make sure it gets sold. And then like 3 weeks later in Victoria, I got in the mail a check for like, this is how much it went for. Congratulations. I was like, that's fine.
Check for $10.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised. It was like $1,000 and I'm like, fine.
It's like when you send your stuff into those cash for gold places.
Like, I guess this is what it was worth. I'm not getting it back, right?
But yeah, I mean, it's tough to drive 2 cars if you're the only one who's driving.
Exactly, yeah. And Heather, I mean, when we lived in Olds, we walked a fair bit as well because she walked to school back and forth all the time. And then we started walking more and more to be like, well, we can walk to the pizza place to get pizza, even though it's like 30 below. It's like we can walk to the pizza place and get pizza. It's like 10 minutes there and 10 minutes back. We can walk to the Shoppers Drug Mart to get some of the shopping in. And I only ever do food shopping like once every couple of weeks. That's when I need the car. And we moved out here, and it was kind of the same thing once we moved more into Victoria. It's like I barely touched my car. So,
I mean, it's funny because, of course, neither Graham or I drive. And so, there's it's often there's a lot of times when we're doing, loading ready run shoots or whatever, when we're like, hey, Beige, good to have you with us on this shoot.
Yes.
Bring your car, please.
I mean, like, I guess I'm working today.
That's not the only reason why we want you on this shoot, but it's a large part of the reason why we want you on this shoot.
I mean, and to be honest, part of I have thought, so I drive a Jetta TDI sedan. I don't drive the wagon. Kind of would like a wagon, but I've got what I got, and I like it. But I feel like the next vehicle I'm going to end up getting, if I end up getting a personal vehicle, because that's another thing I'm thinking about, is it's going to be some sort of electric van that can seat like 6 or 7 people if it can. And that's not in the cards right now. Like buying a vehicle, leasing a vehicle, like buying the VW e-Buzz or whatever it's called, the new like cool looking electric van they make. I'm like, no, that'll be $50,000-$60,000. I'm not buying a new vehicle. I'm not even going to buy a used battery electric vehicle at this point for a while. I'll probably just keep driving the Jetta infrequently, and that will be, and when it eventually wears out, I'm like, do we need a personal vehicle? Maybe we just buy a couple of e-bikes, and then if Loading Ready Run needs to go around and do stuff, we need to plan that ahead and rent a van or something, like who knows. Yeah, or car share. Ian's been doing that. That's been pretty cool. He borrowed a Moto in Victoria, has that big like panel van that you can get that you can just fill with stuff and carry around. And I'm like, this is a great value. I don't have to go to U-Haul. I just have to book this thing and go pick it up from where it's parked, and it's cheaper. So yeah, not bad.
I get slightly concerned when a lot of the pickup places for car rentals are also just parking lots.
Oh, you think that's bad? It's like when it's somebody's driveway. That's also pretty bad.
So it's like that, the Mitchell and Webb sketch where you like go to the driveway and there's like a guy there and you're like, I'm here to pick up the car. Oh yeah, it's right there. So I can just take this? Yeah, I guess. Go ahead. Do you have the keys? Nah, you can just give it a whack. It'll probably start. Here's a screwdriver to stick in the.
Yeah. Oh. It would just be nice to have. I would love to see trolley buses in Victoria. They do that in Edmonton, where they have a bus. They've been doing it since like the 60s. They have buses that do not run on any fuel.
They've got the overhead.
Yeah, they have a
wires?
pantograph that attaches to the overhead wires, and
It
those
seems
are
like
great.
that would require a fair amount of infrastructure to get going, though.
It's a lot. I mean, and you also then you have to basically run that wherever it is that you want those lines to go. But frankly, if you have pretty major bus routes downtown here in Victoria, you have pretty major bus routes that like run out to other places. I'm like, depending on how you structure that.
We had some like fuel cell buses for a while. I don't know
Yeah.
if those. I don't know how those. I don't see them around much anymore. So maybe those were like a pilot program that didn't work out. But we actually had like they had like big sort of things on top of them that were presumably
they're still around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen them go by a couple times. I think they put them on different routes. They kind of move them around to see how they do in different routes. And I've seen diesel hybrids a lot too.
I have I live right by one of the bus or one of the bus
Rest points.
end of the line places is literally right outside my window, including double-decker buses. And they're supposed to turn off their engines when they stop. But sometimes that doesn't happen. It can be quite loud. I don't like that.
I mean, you could be that kind of person who just like looks down, sees the number, and just calls BC Trans and be like, "Hey, so and so is idling their bus outside of our place. You'll be hearing from me in an hour when they do it again." In fact, I'm going to set up a camera. I'm going to set up a camera and a machine learning system so I can automatically call you every time a bus shows up and idles for more than 30 seconds. It'll just start like, "Hello, this is Paul Saunders. There is a bus idling outside my house. Number 3174."
Sure very effective in getting them to do that. Yeah,
they might send people to your house to have a conversation about it.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, with uniforms and everything.